When Laura first opened the worn leather notebook that arrived 2 weeks after her husband's funeral, her hands trembled as if the pages might burn her. The handwriting was unmistakable, David's sharp, slanted letters she had seen on grocery notes and birthday cards. For a moment, she almost smiled, expecting some tender farewell or a reflection from his last days. But the first line froze her blood. If she's reading this, then I couldn't find the courage to tell her the truth. Laura sank into the armchair by the window, the sound of the rain outside fading into silence as she continued to read. David confessed that before his heart attack, he had rewritten his will, leaving the majority of their property, the lake house, and even the art collection to someone named Clara. Her pulse quickened. Clara. The name echoed in her mind, sharp and foreign, like a splinter. She turned the page, her breath shallow. He wrote about guilt, about love that had lasted years in the shadows, and about how he couldn't bear to see Clara left with nothing if the worst happened. Laura's chest tightened. She wanted to throw the journal across the room, to pretend it didn't exist. But she couldn't. Every word pulled her deeper into a world she didn't know her husband had lived. For 30 years, she had been Mrs. David Reynolds, loyal wife, patient partner, the woman who stood beside him through illness and success. Their marriage had its quiet distances, yes, but betrayal? Never. At least, that's what she had believed. Now, as the pages unfolded his hidden life, she realized that the man buried 3 weeks ago was a stranger. He had written about weekends away on business that were in fact escapes with Clara. He described her laughter, her perfume, even the way she used to leave a single earring on his desk like a secret reminder. Laura's stomach churned. This wasn't just infidelity. It was devotion, raw and deliberate. She read on through the night, candles burning low. At one point, she came across a passage that made her shiver. If the family finds this, they'll never believe it's true. They'll say it's forged. But the lawyer knows. He helped me change everything. Her heart slammed in her chest. The lawyer, Mr. Henson, had been the one to deliver the estate documents after David's death. He had been calm, formal, sympathetic. Had he known? Was he protecting someone? By morning, Laura's eyes were red and swollen. The sun filtered weakly through the curtains, and she realized she hadn't slept. She sat surrounded by silence, the journal open on her lap, her world quietly collapsing. She needed answers, proof that what she'd read wasn't some cruel fabrication. She called her son, Mark, to come over, but when he arrived and saw her pale face and trembling hands, his expression hardened as she explained. "Mom, this isn't real," he said, flipping through the pages as though they were poison. "Dad would never do this. It's not even his handwriting. Look, it's sloppy, uneven." "It's his," Laura whispered. "I know it's his." Mark shook his head. "Someone's trying to mess with you. Maybe this Clara person. Maybe she forged it to get something." But Laura wasn't convinced. The details, the intimacy, the tone, it was all David. She could feel him in the words. Still, a part of her wanted desperately to believe Mark was right. That night, she found herself sitting by the fireplace, holding one of David's old letters and comparing the handwriting. The resemblance was undeniable. When she returned to the journal, something new caught her eye, a page dated only 3 days before his death. "If Clara ever comes to the house, don't send her away. She deserves to be heard." The words made her skin crawl. Clara wasn't just a name in the dark. She was someone who might still appear, demanding what David had promised her. A sharp knock at the door startled her. Laura's heart raced as she opened it to find a woman standing on the porch, her coat soaked from the rain. She looked to be in her mid-30s, too young, too composed. "Mrs. Reynolds?" she asked softly. "My name is Clara Moore. I think we need to talk." For a moment, Laura couldn't speak. The sound of her name from this woman's lips felt like a blade. She wanted to slam the door, to scream, to demand why this stranger dared to appear on her doorstep. But instead, she simply stepped aside, allowing Clara to enter, every nerve in her body tightening like wire. Clara looked around the living room as if seeing something sacred. "He told me this was his favorite place," she murmured, eyes glistening. "He said you loved the sound of rain against the windows." Laura clenched her fists. "You have no right to be here," she hissed. "I wouldn't have come," Clara said quietly, pulling a folded document from her bag. "But your husband wanted you to have this. It's the original will." The room seemed to tilt. Laura stared at the paper trembling in Clara's hand, the edges yellowed, the ink familiar. The world blurred for a second, and she realized whatever truth she thought she knew was gone. Laura didn't remember pouring the tea or sitting down. She only realized she was holding the cup when her fingers burned from the heat. Across the table, Clara sat too calmly, her hands folded neatly on her lap, the supposed will resting between them like a loaded weapon. The silence was unbearable. "You expect me to believe this?" Laura finally said, her voice trembling between fury and disbelief. Clara didn't flinch. "It's not about what I expect. It's what he wanted. David changed everything 2 months before he died. He told me you'd never forgive him, but he couldn't leave things unfinished." The words sliced through Laura like glass. "You think I'll just take your word for it? That you waltz in here, waving papers, and I'll hand over my life?" Clara looked down, almost sympathetic. "You don't have to take my word. Ask Mr. Henson." At the mention of the lawyer, Laura's stomach twisted. She'd trusted him for years, and now she wondered how deep the betrayal went. "Get out," she whispered, "before I do something I'll regret." Clara stood slowly, her expression unreadable. "I didn't come to fight, Mrs. Reynolds. I came because he wanted peace. But I'll fight if I have to." When she left, the house felt smaller, colder, haunted by her scent and the echo of David's lies. Laura locked the door and sank to the floor, clutching the journal. She needed answers, and Henson would give them. The next morning, she drove to his office, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. The city blurred by like a bad dream. Henson's assistant tried to stall her, but the look in Laura's eyes made her step aside. "He'll see you now," she said, nervous. Henson was standing by the window when Laura entered, his posture rigid. "Laura," he began softly, "I was going to call you." "Don't," she interrupted. "Tell me the truth. Did David change his will?" He hesitated, then nodded once. "He did. It's legally valid. He wanted Clara to receive the lake house and a portion of the investments." The room spun. "You helped him?" "He insisted," Henson said. "He said it was the only way to make peace with his past." Laura's hands shook. "Peace? He destroyed me." Henson sighed, guilt flickering across his face. "I advised him to tell you. He couldn't. He said you'd never forgive him." "He was right," she spat. When she stormed out, her legs felt weak, her heart heavy with something beyond grief, betrayal that hollowed her from the inside. Outside, the rain had started again, thin and cold, like needles against her skin. She drove aimlessly for hours, the roads empty, her thoughts loud. By the time she returned home, Mark was waiting on the porch, a letter in his hand. "Mom," he said, his voice low, "you need to see this." It was an email printout from Clara. She had sent it to the family lawyer, claiming Laura was hiding financial records and that David's estate was being mishandled. "She's trying to ruin us," Mark said, furious. "You can't let her win." Laura sank into the couch, her pulse pounding. Clara's calm, polite face flashed in her mind. There was no hesitation in that woman. She believed she was entitled to everything. Laura opened the journal again, flipping through the final pages, hoping for something, anything, that would disprove Clara's story. Then she found it. A paragraph she had missed, written in David's familiar scrawl. "If Clara ever shows them the papers, tell them the truth. What she thinks she owns, she never truly did." Laura stared at the line, her breath quickening. What did he mean? Was the will real or another layer of deception? The phone rang, and when she picked it up, it was Henson again. "Laura, we need to talk," he said urgently. "I checked the registry. The document Clara brought isn't the version I filed." "What? It's been altered. Someone changed the dates and signatures." Laura's knees almost gave out. "So it's fake?" "Partially," Henson replied. "The original still listed you as the primary heir. But someone got to the file. I don't know who." A sharp knock came from the front door. Laura froze. Through the window, she saw Clara's car in the driveway. She was back. "I'll call you later," Laura whispered, hanging up. Her mind raced. If Clara knew the forgery was unraveling, she might be desperate. Laura opened the door just enough to see her face, pale, eyes wild. "You shouldn't have gone to Henson," Clara hissed. "You think you can erase me?" "You already erased yourself," Laura said coldly. "David never meant for you to have anything." Clara's jaw clenched. "He loved me. He pitied you." The words hung in the air, and for a heartbeat, Neither woman moved. Then Clara whispered, "You'll regret saying that," and turned, walking away into the rain. Laura stood motionless, her reflection trembling in the glass. Somewhere deep down, she knew the worst was yet to come. She just didn't know that by tomorrow morning, someone would end up in the hospital, and the police would come knocking, asking questions she wasn't ready to answer. Laura barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Clara's expression, those cold eyes filled with something that wasn't grief but vengeance. The rain hadn't stopped either. It drummed relentlessly against the windows, as if echoing the chaos in her head. When the phone finally rang at dawn, Laura's heart leapt into her throat. It was Henson again. "Laura," he said, his voice tense. "There's been an incident. Clara was found unconscious outside your gate around 3 a.m. Someone called the police." Laura froze. "What do you mean unconscious?" "She's in the hospital. The police are looking into it. They'll likely want to speak with you." The air left her lungs. "She came here last night. We argued, but I didn't touch her." "I believe you," Henson said softly. "But they'll have questions. Be prepared." When she hung up, Laura went to the mirror. Her eyes were red and hollow, her hair tangled. She barely recognized the woman staring back. Within an hour, the knock came, sharp, official. 2 officers stood at the door. "Mrs. Reynolds? We need to ask you a few questions about what happened last night." She nodded, numb, and led them inside. The younger officer, Detective Marsh, spoke gently. "Your neighbor reported hearing shouting around 10 p.m. Did you have contact with Miss Taylor?" "She came by," Laura admitted. "We argued. She left. That's all." "You didn't see where she went?" "No," Laura said firmly. "I locked the door and went to bed." The detectives exchanged a glance. "We'll need to take a look around," Marsh said. As they moved through the house, Laura's stomach churned. What were they hoping to find? Blood? Evidence of a fight? But the house was spotless, except for the journal on the coffee table. Marsh picked it up, flipping through a few pages. "Your husband's handwriting?" he asked. "Yes. And this entry. If Clara ever shows them the papers, tell them the truth." What did he mean by that? Laura hesitated. "I don't know. He wrote it near the end. He wasn't thinking clearly." "He seemed lucid here," Marsh said, narrowing his eyes. "You're sure you didn't alter or remove any pages?" "Of course not," she snapped. "That's my husband's private journal." Marsh nodded slowly, jotting something down. "We'll be in touch, Mrs. Reynolds." When they left, Laura sat alone, her hands trembling. She'd told the truth, or at least most of it. She hadn't hurt Clara, but she had wanted to. The thought horrified her. She opened the journal again, staring at the final lines she'd missed before. If they ever pit her against Laura, remember who truly deserved forgiveness. The phrasing made her stomach drop. Who deserved forgiveness? Was he referring to Clara or himself? The sound of tires crunching gravel pulled her from her thoughts. Mark was home, his face pale when he walked in. "Mom," he said, holding up his phone. "It's all over the news. They're saying you had something to do with it." He turned the screen toward her. A local news clip, showing flashing police lights outside their gate. The headline reading, "Woman found injured at ex-lover's widow's home." Laura's blood ran cold. "They're twisting everything," she whispered. "You need a lawyer," Mark insisted. "And not Henson. He's too close to all of this. He's the only one who knows what really happened." "Do you?" Mark asked quietly. She stared at him, caught off guard. "What's that supposed to mean?" "You keep talking about Dad like he's still protecting you," he said. "But every time you open that journal, you look worse. Maybe it's time to stop reading it." Laura almost laughed. "You think I can just stop? That book holds the only proof he didn't betray me." Mark's jaw tightened. Or proof he did. He walked away, leaving her in silence. Hours later, the phone rang again. It was Henson, his voice urgent. "Laura, listen carefully. Clara regained consciousness. She told the police you pushed her." Laura's chest constricted. "She's lying." "I know," he said, "but they've issued a preliminary warrant. You need to come in before they come to you." The line went dead. Laura sat in stunned silence. Everything was unraveling. The journal, the will, Clara's revenge. It all blurred together until she couldn't tell where the truth ended and her paranoia began. She stood, pacing the room, her mind racing. Then her eyes landed on David's desk drawer, the one she hadn't opened since his death. Something compelled her to pull it open. Inside, beneath old papers and receipts, She found an envelope marked in his handwriting. For Laura, if everything falls apart. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a flash drive and a short note. The truth isn't in the will. It's in what she took from me. Show them, and you'll understand. Laura stared at the flash drive, a new dread creeping in. What could possibly be on it? Her laptop sat on the table, waiting. She hesitated only a second before plugging it in. A single video file appeared. Recording _0417. MP4. She clicked. The footage was grainy, filmed in David's study. He sat at his desk, visibly thinner, pale, his eyes heavy with regret. If you're watching this, he said, then she's already shown you something that isn't real. I never changed the will. Clara forced my hand. She said she'd ruin you, Laura, destroy everything if I didn't sign. He looked down, his voice breaking. I signed a blank document that day. She filled in the rest after I died. I'm sorry. I thought I could protect you by staying silent. Laura pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. Oh my God, she whispered. David looked straight into the camera. You have to stop her before she does to you what she did to me. The video ended. Outside, sirens wailed, growing louder, closing in on the house. The truth was finally in her hands, but so were the police. And she knew that whatever came next, she would have to decide whether to surrender the evidence or use it against the woman who'd already tried to destroy her once. The flashing red and blue lights painted the living room walls as Laura stood frozen, clutching the flash drive like it was the last lifeline she had left. The sirens stopped abruptly, replaced by the pounding of fists against the front door. Mrs. Reynolds, open up. It's the police. Her heart thundered in her chest. She slid the flash drive into her pocket, took one steadying breath, and opened the door. Detective Marsh stood there, rain dripping from his coat, his expression unreadable. Laura Reynolds, you're under arrest for assaulting Clara Taylor, he said, his voice calm but firm. The cuffs clicked cold around her wrists. You don't understand, Laura said, her voice trembling. I have proof. She's been lying to all of you. Then you can explain it downtown, Marsh replied, guiding her toward the car. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains as she was led away like a criminal. The humiliation burned more than fear. Inside the police station, the fluorescent lights buzzed, harsh and sterile. Marsh sat across from her in a small, windowless room, a recorder on the table. We can start whenever you're ready, he said. Laura met his gaze. I didn't push her. She came to my house, accused me of stealing what was hers. She said David promised her everything. I told her to leave. That's it. She has bruises, Marsh said. A fall consistent with being shoved. She's lying, Laura said through clenched teeth. And I can prove it. She reached into her pocket and slid the flash drive across the table. My husband recorded a confession before he died. It's all there. She forged the will. Marsh studied the drive, skepticism flickering across his face. You're saying Clara falsified legal documents? I'm saying she blackmailed him, Laura said. He admitted everything. Marsh leaned back, crossing his arms. If that's true, we'll verify it. But if this video's been tampered with, Mrs. Reynolds, it won't end well for you. Just watch it, she said quietly. He nodded to a technician outside the room, who took the drive and disappeared. Minutes crawled by. Laura's hands shook uncontrollably. When Marsh returned, his face was different, paler, unsettled. He sat down, clearing his throat. We reviewed the footage, he said. It appears authentic. Laura exhaled, her eyes stinging. So you believe me? Marsh hesitated. That's not my call. But it changes things. The district attorney will need to review it. Before she could respond, the door opened again. A uniformed officer stepped in, whispering something to Marsh. His eyes widened slightly. Then he turned back to Laura. Clara Taylor is dead, he said flatly. She didn't survive the night. The room went silent. Laura felt the words hit her like a physical blow. Dead? She whispered. What are you saying? She suffered a hemorrhage from the fall, Marsh said. She never regained consciousness. The hospital just confirmed it. Laura's mouth went dry. You think I killed her? I didn't say that, Marsh replied, his tone unreadable. But until we understand what happened, you're staying in custody. He stood and left the room, leaving her alone with the echo of his words. Hours passed in a blur of questions, signatures, and cold coffee. When Henson finally arrived, his face drawn, he sat across from her, lowering his voice. Laura, they have the video. It buys us time, but not freedom. Right now, you're the prime suspect in Clara's death. I didn't do this, she said weakly. David warned me. She was dangerous. The truth might not matter, Henson said. Her family is already spinning the story. They're saying you found out about the will, got jealous, and pushed her in rage. That's insane, Laura whispered. She came to me. And now she's dead, Henson said. That's all anyone will hear. He paused. Laura, tell me everything. Was there anyone else who might have seen her? Anyone who can place her at your door? Laura thought hard. The security cameras. David had them installed years ago. I never took them down. Where's the footage? In the cloud, she said. Passwords on a note in David's desk. Henson nodded. If we can pull that, it could save you. When he left, Laura sat alone again, the exhaustion finally settling in. She thought about the video, about David's tired face, the fear in his eyes. She'll destroy you, Laura. His words echoed in her mind. Maybe he'd underestimated just how far Clara would go, or how much further Laura herself might have to go to survive this. By evening, Henson returned, his tie loosened, his face grim. I got the footage, he said. You were right. She came to you. But there's something else. He placed his phone on the table, pressing play. The grainy image showed Clara at Laura's door, yelling, gesturing wildly. Then, another figure appeared in the frame. A man. Who was that? Laura whispered. You tell me, Henson said. He came up behind her just before she fell. He's not identifiable, but he was there. Laura stared, her mind racing. The outline was familiar, the posture, the build. Oh my God, she breathed. That's Mark. Henson frowned. Your son. Laura nodded slowly, horror dawning on her face. He came home that night. He said he went straight to bed. Laura, Henson said carefully. If that's him, we need to know why he was out there. Because if he's the last person who saw her alive. No, Laura said, shaking her head. He wouldn't. But her voice wavered. Memories flooded back. Mark's tension, his anger at the accusations, his insistence that she stop reading the journal. Or proof he did, he'd said. What if he'd already known the truth? What if he'd gone outside that night? Not to protect her, but to end it. Laura leaned back, feeling the walls close in. He was trying to protect me, she whispered, more to herself than to Henson. Or he thought he was. Henson's gaze softened. We'll find out. But if this comes out before we're ready, they'll tear both of you apart. Laura looked at the flickering screen, her son's shadow frozen beside Clara's. Then we make sure it doesn't, she said quietly. Not until I know exactly what he did. Laura didn't sleep that night. The holding cell was cold, the metal bench biting through her thin clothes. Her mind ran in circles, replaying every frame of the video. Mark's silhouette by the porch. Clara's fall. The way her son had looked at her lately, defensive, distant, afraid. By morning, Henson managed to secure her bail, though barely. Reporters swarmed outside the courthouse as she exited, their cameras flashing like lightning. Mrs. Reynolds, did you kill Clara Taylor? Was your husband's confession fabricated? What about your son? Was he there that night? She said nothing, only kept walking until she reached the car. Inside, Henson started the engine. You need to stay out of sight, he said. Go home, lock your doors, and don't talk to anyone. I'm not hiding, Laura said quietly. I need to talk to Mark. Henson shot her a sharp look. Laura, if that video's real, we're talking about obstruction at minimum. If he touched her, he wouldn't, Laura interrupted, but her voice trembled. He's my son. The drive home was silent except for the hum of the tires on wet asphalt. When they arrived, Mark was already there, standing on the porch, pale and nervous. He rushed to her as soon as she stepped out. Mom, are you okay? We need to talk, she said, brushing past him and locking the door behind them. He followed her into the living room, his hands shaking. I saw it, she said flatly. The footage. His face went white. You what? You were outside that night, she said. You lied to me. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. I was trying to help you, he said finally. She was screaming, calling you names. I went out to make her leave. And then what happened? Laura's voice was low, trembling. Mark hesitated. She fell, he said. I didn't touch her, I swear. She tripped on the step. You didn't even call for help, Laura said. You left her there. I panicked, he shouted. She was bleeding, and God, I didn't know what to do. I thought if anyone found out, they'd think I killed her. Tears welled in his eyes. You've been through enough, Mom. I wasn't going to let them destroy you too. Laura sank onto the couch, covering her face with her hands. Mark, you don't understand what you've done. I saved you, he said desperately. Did you? She whispered. Because now it looks like we both killed her. The doorbell rang, sharp and sudden. Mark froze. Laura motioned for him to stay back, then peered through the peephole. Detective Marsh stood there again, hat in hand. She opened the door halfway. Mrs. Reynolds. May I come in? His tone was polite, but his eyes were hard. I have a few more questions. About what? She asked carefully. About your son, he said. Her stomach dropped. Someone sent us additional footage, an anonymous source. It shows him outside your house, just like the one your lawyer gave us. Only this time, the timestamps earlier. Before the fall. Laura's breath caught. That's not possible. It is, Marsh said quietly. It also shows him arguing with Clara. He grabs her arm. No, Laura said. That's been doctored. Maybe, Marsh said. Or maybe it's the original, and yours was edited. Either way, it doesn't look good. Where did you get it? Anonymous email, he said. No metadata, no trace. But whoever sent it knew exactly what they were doing. Laura's mind spun. Someone was framing Mark, or trying to pit them against each other. She glanced at her son, whose face had gone ashen. Detective, my son didn't kill anyone, she said firmly. He was scared, that's all. Marsh's expression softened, almost pitying. Then you won't mind if we take him in for questioning. Mark stepped back instinctively. Mom. It's okay, Laura said, her voice breaking. Just tell them the truth. The truth won't matter, he muttered. 2 officers stepped inside and gently cuffed him. As they let him out, he looked over his shoulder. Don't trust anyone, Mom. Not even Henson. The words hit her like a blade. After they left, Laura sat alone, the house unnervingly silent. She stared at the spot where her husband's journal used to lie before she burned it, before she realized the truth was far more dangerous than the lies. That night, she opened her laptop and played the anonymous footage Marsh had shown her. Frame by frame, she analyzed it, looking for inconsistencies. Then she froze. A reflection in the glass door, barely visible but clear enough. A figure standing behind Clara, holding a phone. Recording. Not Mark. Not her. Someone else. A woman. Laura's blood ran cold. She zoomed in until the pixels blurred, but she could still make out the necklace, the same one she'd seen in old photos. It wasn't Clara's. It was her sister's. Anna, she whispered. Her voice trembled as realization dawned. Anna, who had vanished after David's funeral. Anna, who had always said David owed her. The journal hadn't just exposed David's sins. It had lit a fuse, and Anna was the one holding the match. Laura closed the laptop, her heart pounding. She knew what she had to do next. Laura drove through the night, the road stretching endlessly before her as rain streaked across the windshield. The address she'd found, an old property listed under her sister's name, sat at the edge of the county, forgotten and swallowed by trees. When she arrived, the house looked abandoned, windows boarded, the porch sagging, one dim light flickering inside. She stepped out, the mud sucking at her shoes, and knocked. No answer. She tried the door. It creaked open. Anna. Her voice echoed through the hollow rooms. Dust floated in the air like ghosts. Then came a sound, a faint shuffle upstairs. She climbed slowly, each step groaning under her weight, until she reached the last door at the end of the hallway. It was half open, candlelight flickering within. And there, sitting by a desk covered in papers and tapes, was her sister. You shouldn't have come here, Anna said without looking up. You sent the footage, Laura said. Anna smiled faintly. You were always the smart one. Laura took a step closer. Why? Why would you do this to Mark? Anna finally turned, her eyes hollow and gleaming. It's not about Mark. It's about David. About what he stole from me. He's dead, Anna. Yes, but he left you everything. His house, his money, his name. And me? Nothing. You think I didn't know about his will? About how he promised to make it right and never did? Her voice cracked. That journal you burned. It wasn't a confession, Laura. It was a map. To all the lies he buried. Laura's hands shook. You killed Clara. Anna tilted her head, unbothered. She came to me. She said she had proof David changed the will for you. She wanted to sell it. I warned her not to push. She didn't listen. Laura's stomach twisted. So you filmed it. Of course, Anna said. Someone had to make sure the truth came out. You destroyed my family, Laura whispered. No, Anna said coldly. David did. I just finished what he started. Laura's eyes darted to the desk. There, half covered by papers, lay another journal, David's handwriting unmistakable. She lunged for it, but Anna grabbed her wrist. They struggled, knocking over the candle. Flames licked up the edge of the desk. Let it burn, Laura, Anna screamed. Let all of it burn like he burned us. Laura shoved her away, snatched the journal, and ran. Behind her, the room erupted in orange light. Anna screamed her name once. Then the ceiling groaned and collapsed. Laura stumbled down the stairs, out the door, the rain smothering sparks in her hair. She fell to her knees in the mud, clutching the journal to her chest, sobbing as the house collapsed behind her. Sirens wailed in the distance. She didn't move. Morning came gray and silent. At the hospital, Mark sat beside her bed, bruised but free. Henson had cleared him after the fire revealed the truth, Anna's body, the evidence, everything tied to her. They said it was self-defense, Mark whispered. Laura turned her head toward him. It wasn't, she said quietly. It was family. Later, when the police let her keep David's last journal, she opened it one final time. His last entry was dated 2 days before his death. If Laura finds this, tell her I tried to fix it. I left the truth with Anna. She'll know what to do. Her breath caught. Anna hadn't just been seeking revenge. She'd been following his final instructions. David had trusted her more than his wife. Laura closed the book, tears slipping down her cheeks. The truth hadn't freed anyone. It had only passed the curse from one hand to another. That night, alone in the quiet house, Laura placed both journals, hers and his, into a wooden box and locked it. She buried it beneath the old oak behind the house, where David used to sit reading on summer evenings. As she covered it with soil, she whispered, "No more secrets." But as she stood to leave, she noticed something glinting in the dirt, a small silver locket, half buried. She picked it up, opened it, and froze. Inside was a photograph, Anna and David, smiling together, arms wrapped around each other in a way that made Laura's stomach twist. On the back, engraved in faint script, "Forever ours, no matter who she thinks she is." Laura stared at it for a long moment before slipping it into her pocket. Then she walked away, the earth still damp beneath her shoes, the first rays of dawn breaking over the ashes of everything she thought she knew.